Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Pensacola, Florida, it's time for Pensacola Business Radio. Now, here are your Business Radio X hosts.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Keith over here, broadcasting live from our Pensacola studio, and we have a digital edition here of Pensacola Business Radio, and I'm joined on the other side of the computer here with three wonderful people who are going to share their business experiences with us today. So good afternoon, all of you. Thank you for being here. I'd like you all to introduce yourselves, and Prima, please, let's start with you.
Hi, my name is Prima Creel. I'm with Take 5 Media Group. We're a omni-channel digital marketing company that has our own data that we customize for companies and then activate different media channels to try to increase ROI.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Sure.
Devin, you're up.
Great. My name is Devin Beverage. That's right, last name Beverage, like a drink. My business is Bev Co., which is a comprehensive digital marketing solutions business. We offer end-to-end funnel solutions for businesses that are looking for long-term sustainable growth. We're focused on branding over a sales-first approach.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And Vera.
Hello, my name is Vera Anderson, and I am with Global Elements Consulting, and I'm a performance coach. So what I do is I help my clients who are CEOs and business owners to figure out what helps them to perform better and achieve their goals faster.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So, so let's get started and let's get right into it. Prima, tell me a little bit about Take 5 and how you ended up at the helm there.
Well, Take 5 is kind of a data source. We have over 275 million people in our database. So with the power of this data, we're able to target a lot of different demographics, overlays, life triggers, who's pregnant, who has kids, who has pets, all the way down to how old their children are and so forth. And we work with companies that have an ideal target in mind and create a customized audience and then use any kind of digital forces that we have, email, retargeting, content campaigns, and so forth, to get their brands and products in front of people. I got brought on about 3 months ago to grow the team as we were just bought by Advantage Media Solutions, the sixth largest digital retail marketing company in the United States. They're trying to really bring us to the forefront. We usually used to license our data to marketing companies, and now we're kind of working directly with brands as well as working with marketing companies to help grow people's businesses.
So how does that change your dynamic inside the company?
Quite a bit. I used to, obviously I started in sales years ago, and now this is the third team that I'm running. So we are kind of going through a transition phase right now. So the dynamic is changing every day. But we are trying to not just limit ourselves to licensing data to marketing companies and big brands, but help them activate things as well and, provide the creative services. And it's quite a transition.
Are you holding up okay?
Yeah. I am. It's challenging. It's very challenging, but it's fun. It's fun. Challenges are fun.
So aside from the large amount of data that you have as a company, what you said creative services, are you sort of an all-stop shop thing where you can get everything done in one swoop?
Right, we can be. So we have our optimization teams and our creative teams, and so we can be. So for some people, we're not. For some people, we are just white labeling what we can do for marketing companies. And for other people, they are coming direct, and we are helping them with everything all the way down to making their email creative and their social media creative, along with the targeting and implementation of the campaign.
So who's an ideal client for you then?
We work with large companies like Walmart, Cheerios, and the big, large agencies and brands. And then we work with smaller companies, small home builders, real estate companies, and things like that. We can target all the way down to zip codes, or we can run a huge national campaign and, target every mom in the country. It just depends.
So what kind of pain points do I have when I try to come find you?
I deal with pain points across the gamut. I would say some of the most common ones are, if you are just kind of bidding for things online, you're going through a lot of algorithms and things like that. And companies nowadays are looking for one-to-one real information, not algorithms or, like with social media now, it's all based off likes and shares and algorithms. They've lost the one-to-one component of their data. We have the one-to-one component because all of our data is owned, internal, and one-to-one. So we have direct information about the people in our database. And that's probably the pain point we solve the most, is the audience and how it's all one-to-one data. There's not an algorithm or a pixel that's leading you to this person. You're reaching this person because we know they're a mom, or we know they're pregnant, or we know they have pets, not just based on shares and what sites they frequent.
Right. So how are you all, when you guys go out to find new clients, how does that work? And where do you look, really? 'Cause it sounds to me like there's only so many, I think, large companies that are probably looking for services. I would assume that some of this is a little challenging to find new clients.
Well, we look all over the place. We do work with a lot of large agencies. We work with very small agencies as well, and regional. So anybody trying to reach a customer base, we'll work with. We can work with a mom and pop chain of furniture stores. We work with a lot of real estate. We work with travel. Even small travel agencies that are just trying to reach the people in their city. So we kind of go all over the place. We don't really stay in one niche or one size company. We work with some little media buyers that just have 5 or 6 clients in a city, and they're just helping their clients grow in that city. And then we work with the large agencies, that are trying to grow brands like Untuckit and so forth.
Yeah. And do you guys have a sales team that does that, or is that just an internal position, kind of comes when it comes?
Yes. Yeah. So I run a sales team in Boca Raton. I have a team of about 15 people. And then I also have a team in New York of 10 people that focuses up there. And then there's a couple people that work from home remote. We have some in California, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Atlanta. So we have a nice, strong sales force, and we're growing.
Yeah, you got a brigade out there, that's for sure. So for those that don't know, explain to us what omni-channel means. I've always wondered what that term does.
Omni-channel means more than one channel of marketing. So email marketing is one channel of marketing. Social media is another channel of marketing. Display is another channel of marketing. Then you have print, and you have broadcast. Radio is another channel. So every channel, omni-channel just means, instead of going to, some people say, well, they handle my social media, and they handle my display, my programmatic, and they handle my email, and we handle a lot of different channels under one roof. So that's what we mean by omni-channel. And the multi-touch is all of those channels are reaching the same person. Since our data is first party and owned, we have that same person's physical mailing address, email address, we have their social media, we have their mobile ID. So that's what we mean by the omni-channels, all the different ways we can reach them. And the multi-touch is all those different ways are multiplying how many times we're touching that one person. Awesome. With your brand.
Okay. All right. So these are 2 questions I usually like to ask everybody that comes on. And first one is, what has been your best failure?
My best failure.
Yeah, your best failure. So maybe something that you failed but ended up failing forward or failing up.
My best failure. You know what I would say, and this is, that's too personal. I can't say that. Okay, business-wise. Best failure business-wise. Gosh, you can't ask a question like that so off the cuff.
Sure I can. That's how we get the real data.
Okay. Okay, I would say my best failure would probably be what at my previous company, I was also managing a team, and really the backbone of the team. And I left. I gave up and could not take the stress anymore, and left the company. And I really feel like I let this company and team down. And I thought gosh, I failed them. However, my leaving, I think, turned things around for that department, because they weren't depending on me anymore, and they actually had to figure it out. And now they're 10 times stronger, in my opinion, than if they were still depending on me for everything.
All because you let them fly
so that
and be free.
was one time that I think I felt like I failed at that with that team, but now looking back, I don't think I did. I made them stronger.
Very good. Okay, and then the second question is, what book are you reading right now?
I'm goodness. I just finished writing a book, so I'm not reading anything.
Okay. All right, what's the last book you read
Yeah.
then?
Okay. The last book I read, I'm not a reader. I write a lot. I'm not a reader. Yes.
So what do you like to write about then?
Well, one book I'm writing is The Power of Branding, and how branding can psychologically get into a person's psyche and make you feel like you're buying this amazing product, but when you do the research, it's not as amazing as everybody thinks. So it's kind of the power of branding in your psyche, and how it sways people to just completely overlook the facts, simply because it's in their face a lot.
Yeah. It's $1 billion industry, isn't it?
That's one book I'm currently writing.
Well, very neat, very neat. So if anybody wanted any more information on Take 5 and what you all do, where can we send them to?
They can feel free to email me, and I can, make sure I help them in any way that I can. And then obviously I can get them with a team member. My email is P as in Paul, Creel, Creel, @take5mg.com. That's the number 5.
Okay. And the take5mg.com is obviously the website they can also visit and see everything?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, very cool. Well, very interesting story. Very neat job. Thank you for being here. Hang out for a little while. Let's find out what Devin and Vera do.
Of course.
All right. Okay, Devin Beverage, you are up. How does a man like you get a last name of Beverage? You didn't change it, did you?
That's a good question. No, I didn't change it. But I can tell you, I've not met a lot of other people with the same last name. That's
really. That's
yeah. Really.
You know what? That doesn't surprise me, actually.
Yeah, it's funny. The only person I've ever actually spontaneously met, their last name was spelled slightly differently, so not exactly like the drink. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's interesting. I hear a lot of new jokes all the time. Surprisingly, they never get old.
Well, okay, and you named the company Bev, so tell us about it.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I kind of have considered changing the name now, because the reason it actually came up was because initially I started this business as a freelancer. I had a real estate business that I was not so much enjoying the day-to-day of anymore. And so I'd been messing around with web design and SEO for a long time, started doing that for friends of mine and connections through pretty much just people I knew through business. And ended up being able to get in my first clients through people who trusted me already and gave me a leg up. And then from there, it came to the point where I was quickly getting a lot of opportunities that I didn't even necessarily have all the skills for. So then I had to start hiring contractors to be able to work together with me to put projects together and ship the final solution for the business. So it's not my favorite name anymore, but the basic idea was to start with, it was me, and I was going by a shortened name, Dev Bev. And then essentially it was going to be Dev Bev and Company. But I had the domain devbev.co, so I just went with that. And
so have you kept the contract style, project style business model?
What do you mean? From when I was
where you're outsourcing a lot of the services and stuff, or are you doing all things in house?
Right. Well, I work with the same contractors pretty much on an ongoing basis. The same couple graphic designers, the same team of SEO people. So it's interesting. I definitely serve a few of the actual business functions still myself. But outsourcing is interesting because then I have to do some project management myself and make sure everyone's collaborating like they need to. So everything's lining up.
Do you think that opens up your window of creative ability?
I would say so. One thing that it's done is it's given me the opportunity to spend more time growing the business and narrowing our focus so that we can, I guess, do more for fewer clients is the ideal goal. Mm-hmm. We want to provide as comprehensive of services as we can because that seems to be what has the most impact on each individual business.
So, same question I was asking Prima is, who would be your ideal client then?
So our ideal client, I'd say the area where we shine most is creating new streams of leads, essentially. So, for example, one business that we're going to be starting to work with is a mortgage business here in Tampa Bay. And they've been working off of referral business, even though they've been doing a ton of revenue. They've been working completely off referrals for their entire business life. So now I'm going to start essentially completely new sales funnels that they're going to have now, brand new. I'm trying to not use technical terms, but essentially it's called cold traffic. So we're putting out advertisements and running funnels so that we're getting cold traffic into the business and essentially making it so that even if the referrals dried up for them, they have a backup plan. So they're constantly creating new relationships and then they can nurture those and leverage those over time. And those should essentially turn into new referral relationships as well.
So, back in the day, and this being probably 15, 20 years ago, there was, you went to networking events, you had referrals from, previous clients and existing clients. But nowadays, there are so many different places to get leads, so to say. And I know that sounds so impersonal when you say leads, but really when you try to build new relationships in business. But what are some of the ones out there that you're finding to be effective for you?
Good question. Well, in my business, I'd say referrals are mostly coming through friends, family, and people I've done business with in real estate and other things because I was in real estate for a good period of time, all in the same area. So I was able to make some pretty dense social networks. But in general, one of the best ways to acquire leads right now is through social media. It's what one of my favorite business mentors says, Gary Vaynerchuk, it's underpriced attention. And so I'm really encouraging that for a lot of businesses that I'm working with.
Yeah, it's attention arbitrage, I think is the way he calls it. You're about the third person this week that's focused on Gary Vaynerchuk, and who I just think his raw style is just absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
So.
I'm a big fan. I wasn't initially, but over time I was like, you know what? I totally can see around any prickly edges that there might be. And man, I love this guy and his message that he's putting out.
Yeah, he's pretty on point. I'll give him that for sure. So, okay, you said you were in the Tampa Bay area. Is that, do you work strictly with local clients or do you work anywhere across the U.S. or globally?
Actually, yeah, I do work outside the U.S. as well. I have a few clients in Canada and I have started conversations with clients elsewhere. Like there's a client in the UK, or a potential client, I guess I should say. And it's not even been my goal, funnily enough, but it's interesting. We're in a more and more globalized world, and some people just, even here in Tampa, sometimes have that to say is like, hey, I have this guy I know. He's not nearby. Like, is that okay? And that's actually how I ended up getting one of my Canadian clients. So
yeah, it's amazing what technology allows us to do, isn't it?
Right.
So you said you had the chance to work a little bit more on your business than in your business by using some of the contracts, or by the way you have your business model set up. So what does that look like to you? Because I think a lot of people should hear that, because a lot of people are too busy working in their businesses instead of on their business. So what's the difference for you between the two of those?
Right. Well, working in the business essentially looks like spending most of my day working on projects themselves instead of spending time doing things that are building brand equity for the business, and then essentially developing things so that we can do more and more for our clients over time. Because if I spend my whole day working on whatever specific client work, it's not leaving much time for the company to grow, because who's going to grow it if I'm not? I guess I could hire someone to do that, but it's definitely something I want to entrust myself with versus anybody else.
Right. And so do you find it to be stressful with having to juggle so many different aspects of the job?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for, I think, close to 5 years now, and it's definitely stressful. It's definitely stressful, but it's also, in a way, a good type of stress. Because I'd also say I have another type of stress if I, for some reason, don't work for a period of time. Like if I go on a vacation, there's definitely going to be a point where all of a sudden I have a weird stress that, okay, I'm not working. Now I'm not managing everything that's there.
Right.
Even if I put someone else in charge, you know?
I completely agree. It's sort of a work-life integration as opposed to a balance, isn't it?
Right, yeah.
So,
especially if you're passionate about it.
Okay, so the same two questions I was asking Prima is, one, what has been your best failure? And the second one is, what book are you reading now?
Okay, so biggest failure. I've been thinking about that one since you asked her, because I knew that was coming up for me. And I guess I would say, not having more time to think about it more, I guess I would say my best failure was, I want to say it's a couple years ago now, and it was in my real estate business, actually. And it was a period where I was, essentially my business model was finding real estate deals, so properties that were distressed, getting them under contract, and essentially selling that contract to investors who wanted to flip the properties. Big business here in Tampa. But I made the mistake of investing too much in a deal that was not guaranteed, had a huge payoff, huge margins for me. But I relied so much on that coming out that I ended up stuck in terms of, I wasn't doing lead generation at the time for more business as much as I should have. And I also had I technically invested money trying to help the homeowners resolve a situation legally that they had that would enable them to sell the house because they wanted to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. And that ended up being money that went nowhere, just because the deal broke down in an unexpected way. Essentially, one of the sellers was technically in prison, and he ended up refusing to sign the final paperwork. And so that whole thing fell apart, and it was a really big blow at the time, because we're talking like about $40,000, $50,000 in profit that was supposed to come, that I was just expecting at the time. It was the biggest paycheck that I ever would have gotten. And when that suddenly was not coming, and I had been relying on, hey, this is going to be coming, it just really taught me that in business, you never want to stop that lead gen. It doesn't matter if you have $1 million contract or what level you're at. You always got to have that safety net and make sure that you've got your own back. Yeah, the money's not in the bank till the money's in the bank, right? Right.
Yeah. All right. And so what book are you reading now?
I am reading for probably the 5th time, Blue Ocean Strategy.
That's a great book.
It's amazing. I love it. And it's one that I recommend that most people, at least more than anything else that I recommend, people usually haven't heard of it as much. And I like that.
So any blue oceans that you are aware of right now that you've been thinking about?
Probably not any that I would share yet. Some ideas in development for sure, but which is why I'm reading it again. But nothing I would share just yet, but we'll see. Yeah.
And so for those that don't know, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but the blue ocean is any industry or any part of business that is untapped, where it has almost zero point of entry barriers, as well as zero competition. So it's very easy to get in on one side, but can also be construed as the other side of the gamut. And I think Gary Vee does a very good way of pointing this out. So for instance, if fast casual is all of the rave right now in restaurants and food, then that means there's that gap or blue ocean on the side of maybe fine dining, because even though it's not hitting right now, there's going to be a balance thrown back to the economics of things. So when you can navigate those and designate those and see them and then capitalize on them, you can win big time.
Completely agree. Absolutely.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, man. Well, if anybody else is interested in finding out more information, where can we send them to?
Yeah, I mean, they can go to my website, devbev.co. It's not .com, but .co. And we have a little messenger chatbot in the lower right that they can use to book a call with me or reach out if they have any questions or anything. I'm always happy to help because I love what I do. So
very cool.
Anybody feel free.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. Stick around for a little bit. We're going to see what Vera does.
All right, great.
Okay, Vera, thank you for hanging out and being the silent listener, huh?
It's been perfect position to be in. I got to learn from the previous speakers. You let your secret questions out, so I'm not going to be surprised unless you throw curveballs. So I feel like I'm in a good spot.
I don't know. I could change the questions up on you, but we'll see.
Yeah, you could.
So Vera, for those that don't know, tell everybody sort of what you do and who you are.
Sure. My background is in finance and private equity. And by way of heritage, I was actually born and raised in Russia. And my family has been in the U.S. for over 30 years now. So I have a pretty diverse and international background. I've traveled a lot in my life. I've lived in 5 countries now. I've been to over 30. And I love interacting with people from different cultures, doing business with people in different cultures. And I've learned quite a bit from both the financial background and the M&A work that I've done, and having this multicultural, multilingual environment. A lot of very interesting tricks and tips and things that work across multiple industries, but people don't always use them because they're just not aware.
Okay,
so that's all the knowledge and expertise that I bring to my clients now.
So what are some of those things? Because I think that more and more today, some of these things that you're about to mention are starting to move into the forefront, and more people are becoming aware of them and really realizing how effective they are.
Sure. Well, when it comes to, if we're talking about performance coaching, which is my current business, it's going back to the fundamentals. And what I'm seeing that most of the people are missing that are working with me is one of 5 key areas. And it depends on the individual what it is that they need help with. So one that I'm seeing is decisions and making decisions, especially when it comes to things like, I am going to sell this business. What do I start with next? Where do I go to? Or I am about to sell my business and retire. How do I create a legacy? What would that look like? What would my identity be if I am no longer known as a CEO of this successful business? So it's helping people make these significant and, in a lot of cases, very impactful, life impactful decisions going forward. But not only make the decision, but actually commit to it. Because we all know the difference between making decision and actually committing to it.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
There's an additional effect of I am not going to fail when you commit to something.
And so, do you think that gives you the advantage of committing over just thinking about it? I think, like you said, if you commit to it, then part of you has to believe it, right? And so, if part of you believes it, you've got a success rate that's a little higher than just talking about it.
Absolutely, and it's just a matter of how in do you feel you are. If you're all in, then you're going to act and behave differently than if it's just something that would be great if it happened, but I'm okay if it doesn't.
So it's
a different mindset.
Yeah, I agree. How does all of this translate to across multiple industries, but then to those industries that your clients are in now?
It really applies to life. If you think about it, because we make decisions on a daily basis. Some of them are small, some of them are big, right? And it could be a decision that is as small as Am I going to the gym at 5 o'clock this morning? Right?
Mm-hmm.
We all have those questions in our minds. And what happens is if we don't commit to a decision, then it has a trickle effect. So for instance, decision to go or not to go to the gym will then impact your energy level, which is another key area that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners struggle with. And I'm not talking about just, the woo-woo energy, if you will, but I'm talking about the mental energy and the physical energy that you have. Because if you're feeling sick and weak, you're not going to perform well. If you're feeling this mental fog and haze, you're not going to perform well. So if you want to excel at whatever it is that you're doing, you need to have that energy, and you have to know, how do you ramp it up and how do you then ramp it down so you can relax after you've been performing. And that all stems from making the decisions and committing to them.
Yeah. So would you say that there's a standard procedure to decision making that maybe we're not following, like a step 1, step 2 kind of thing?
What I'm finding with large decisions is that we get overwhelmed. Let's say your large decision is, do I move my family to another country because they have a great business opportunity there? Well, that is extremely overwhelming, right? Because you start thinking about all of the impacts that decision will create. Will my kids like it or not? Will my spouse be able to find a job or be able to find something to do while I'm there? Am I going to be successful? Where are we going to live? What are we doing with the house? So all of these other questions start popping up. So the way you make large decisions is by breaking things down into small bite-sized steps. And that is initially figuring out, okay, what is the opportunity? How is that going to compare it to the quality of life that I have right now? What kind of a package am I going to get there? And then look at smaller things. What are the facts that I need in order to make that larger decision? So it could be having the conversation with the family and getting their take on it. It could be researching the location where you're going to and maybe visiting it. So basically taking the bigger decisions and chopping them into pieces where you can get some facts, and then you can make the next decision and take next steps based on facts rather than something that feels wobbly.
So maybe it's just a matter of asking the right questions, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah. So in your arena, do you have an ideal client that you like to work with, or is your stuff pretty across the board?
Typically, the clients that I work with or start working with are going through some sort of a transition in their life or business, and there is a lot of moving parts. So they feel like they need something to anchor onto. And our conversations, our sessions give them that anchor where they know that we can brainstorm, we can come up with solutions, but it's also a safe place to talk about anything that comes up for them and how they feel about it. The other area is when somebody is becoming aware of their blind spots and they want to improve their performance. So again, it's not really industry specific as much as it is time specific for the individual, where they want to do better and they want support and assistance to do that.
And so what does that look like when somebody approaches you? They just say, hey, I'm kind of all over the place. Can you help me focus? Or is it something that they maybe not even know that's going on?
If they're interested in talking to me, we start with a session, with a complimentary session to figure out what it is that they're trying to solve. Because sometimes it's just one question and I can help them solve that fairly quickly and then they don't need any additional support. In some cases, we discover that there is a lot behind the question or behind the challenge where they do need some ongoing support. But it's all in terms of, it's all about building a relationship and having that, developing that level of understanding and comfort of having pretty private conversations to get to the goals that they're trying to achieve.
So, and this will be sort of I guess, I don't know what we call it, but for those that are listening, so you and I have spoken previous to this, and I think you have one of the tactics that we went through that I think is totally worth talking about was a skill that a lot of people don't use anymore that they have. And I say this after that question because I think sometimes this may help you answer the question of whether you need some help focusing or whether you need some help just getting some things in line or just overall maybe some coaching. I think everybody could use coaching. It's no different than everybody could use therapy. It's got to be good in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't mean anything less of you or more of you, but visualization as a tactic and a tool to focus on your end game and really enhance your ability to perform is by far one of the most underutilized skills I think out there. And I was reminded of that just a couple of days ago when you and I went through the process of doing that. So for those that may not understand how that works or how to do it and how easy it really is, can you talk us through it?
Well, it's a lot easier to demonstrate than it is to talk about it. But in the basics, when you close your eyes, right, there is an image of yourself that you see, or there is a decision, or there is a challenge. There's always this story around it. There's always some sort of a descriptor or an image that pops into your head. So when you're visualizing, you are in the driver's seat, and you can visualize or create this image that is in the positive shade, in the neutral, or in the negative shade. And most often we go into the negative mindset. We're criticizing ourselves. We're looking at what we don't have. We're worried. We're stressed. But if you take the same, let's say, event, and instead of saying, I'm stressed about it, looking at it as an opportunity and getting curious about what can possibly come out of it that is positive, you're shifting your mindset. So instead of looking at the negative, you start to retrain your mind and you start to retrain your physiology to an extent at a cellular level to look for positives, to feel positive. So with visualization, you intentionally create a visual that is positive, that is something that you want, that is something that you have an emotional attachment to. And the more you meditate on it, the more real it becomes to you. And then what happens is different synchronicities start popping up. You start seeing that image externally in your daily life. You might have a phone call from a person who you were just thinking about. You might have an opportunity that comes up that is absolutely ideal in what you wanted, but you couldn't actually express it before. So that's the power of visualization, both from changing your outlook and actually empowering you to see opportunities rather than just being upset about what is happening to you.
Right. Sort of guiding you into the right direction and instead of, you operate just sort of haphazardly and hope that things work out, right? So,
exactly. One of the things that helps with that exercise, if you're not a very visual or meditative person, what I do in the mornings is I set daily intentions and I journal those out. And what that means to me is I set an intention of how do I want my day to go. So if, for instance, I see that I have a full schedule and there's a lot of meetings and calls, then my intention for the day might be, I want to be able to flow through the day no matter what happens. Because let's be honest, when you have a lot of things scheduled, things change, people's calendars shift, some things get canceled, other things get squeezed in. And instead of getting upset about it, I'm setting an intention in the morning that I'm going to just go with it and see opportunities and make the best of whatever comes that day.
So setting some intention is a thing that works. I can tell you that firsthand. I can also speak to after we got done doing the visualization practice, there were a lot of things that I was able to uncover and discover, which is typically what happens, I think, with most of your clients. And then you challenged me to do it every day for a very short amount of time, and at least once over the next couple of weeks. And I can say that so far I have met your challenge and have continued to find more things unfolding. And so there's been a day or two where I didn't see much at all, and then there was one day, in fact this morning, where I saw a whole bunch. So some of it is starting to work itself out, which is always cool. Validation is always neat, and the rest I'm sure will come. But I can attest as a firsthand user that it is something that will be integrated into my daily practices, and it's definitely worth trying out. And I think everybody should at least give it a shot. You can always try something, especially all those that are business owners or that are in charge of large teams like Prima is, or may have high stress jobs, or really just want to help get yourself some direction to get moving to the place you want to be, I think. So thank you very much for helping me walk through it, and I'm glad it's being effective for me. And so I'll spokesperson for you for a minute.
Beautiful.
If there's anybody interested in some more of what you do and who you are, where can we send them to?
They can reach me on LinkedIn, Vera Anderson, Global Elements Consulting. And there's actually a link there in my description to a Calendly schedule. So if people are interested in having a quick conversation with me, they can schedule it there. Or they can go to my website, which is globalelementsconsulting.com.
Very good. Very cool. Well, thank you very much for being here today.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody hang out real quick. Let me get us out of here because we are at the end of time. But I do want to thank both Vera and Devin for being here as well. And if you guys taking the time out of your day to join us and share, who you are and what you do. I think it's great, and hopefully more people can learn from it, and hopefully they'll be reaching out to you for more information. So you guys can find us at Pensacola Radio X on Twitter. You can find us at Pensacola BRX on Facebook, or you can find us on our website at businessradiox.com, or you can find us on our live feed at businessradiox.live. And this has been Pensacola Business Radio, where business is good and your work matters. I want to thank everybody for listening today. My name's Keith Herbert. This has been Pensacola Business Radio. You can find us at Pensacola Radio X on Twitter, Pensacola BRX on Facebook. You can find us on LinkedIn at businessradioxstudios.pensacola, or you can find us on Instagram at Pensacola Business Radio, or on our websites at businessradiox.com, or on our live feed at businessradiox.live. If you are interested in being a guest on Business Radio X, please visit either one of our sites or our social media sites to find a link to book your appearance. This has been Pensacola Business Radio, where business is good and your work matters.